welcome to Imperial Advisor, episode 50, if you can believe that. Our first show was on the 1st of May 2017. We have been doing this for 2 full years at this point. Gentlemen,
Yeah,
thoughts?
exactly.
Thoughts?
Well, we're still playing L5R. That's a good sign, right? We've come a long way.
I think
I
so.
am still invested.
Despite the despite the best efforts, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely been some rough moments, and there certainly have been times when I've been like, I don't think I'll play Dragon today. I think I'll play something else.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, yeah. It is
But
like it's
that's
2 full years, and it's been basically 3 months less than that of actual playing the game. Because
Yeah.
Gen Con was the launch, and yeah, since then we've had 2 worlds, we've had 2 Kodai seasons now. Yeah, it's been going pretty well. Been going pretty well, all things considered. Like, I would change a bunch of stuff were I in charge, but that's just me.
yeah, I mean,
it's so no. You go ahead.
people have been talking about 2.0 from as soon as the game started. So yeah,
Yeah.
Go on, Justin.
Yeah. Oh no, I mean the game had. I mean, it's a new game. It's a completely new game with a completely new resource system. A whole it's a complex to game design. So it's gonna have teething problems, which it absolutely has. Like, the good news is that I think the core game mechanics are absolutely solid, rock solid, in fact. And really, the issues have stemmed from the card design. We've mentioned it before, and I suppose we'll keep on saying it as long as it remains true. But that said, with the latest restricted list, there were some erratas issued. They haven't been issued that often in the past. And whatever else, it's clear that I think Tyler has a vision for where he wants the game to be, and that's a great thing. Well, I'm saying certainly one of the things that came through in the early design or in the early days of Five Rings is that there was a very scattershot approach to how the clans were designed, and that is something that's going to create problems as you move down the line. But with a single designer and with a clear, or at least clearer, vision of where the game's going and what the experience of the game is supposed to be like. We've definitely had cause for criticism, and we've been pretty down on the game.
We will be down. We will be down again later in this recording session. We will be down again. Oh yeah, don't worry about that. Don't worry.
Okay.
We got plenty. Geez. We've got plenty of. Baz has plenty of salt to spill. It's great. It'll be fabulous.
Oh Jesus, you just need. Well, actually, in fairness, the unfair, the cruel neutering of Tadaka in his prime is something similarly outrageous. But
No. This is going to be this episode's about restoration of balance, and how this changes horse shit, right? This is what I was told.
Has been restored, Baz.
So let's open this up by talking about that errata. So you actually had 3 pieces of errata made, 3 actual changes to card wording, not in the we need to make this card work sense of Pit Trap, but actually we want to rebalance these cards. And we begin with possibly the biggest change, which is the City of the Open Hand. Still the same Stronghold value, still the same influence and honor.
It's Tadaka. It's just different.
City Open Hand now reads, and they actually have updated images on the website. Action: if you are less honorable than an opponent, bow the Stronghold, select 1. Either that opponent loses 1 honor, or you gain 1 honor. So, big change. It's gone from stealing an honor to you having a choice. You can make them lose an honor, or you can gain an honor. Some people have argued it is in some ways subtly stronger for the Dishonor deck, because no longer are you can go, well, I'll just keep making you lose honor. Or you just go, I'll just take that back. But it's no longer that dual punch of superpower. Baz, any thoughts?
This has always been a Stronghold that's been set apart, and people have claimed it is the absolute top on the bee's knees. It has always been strong as part of the clan overall. I don't know. The change seems like a good one. I have to admit, it was relatively unexpected for me. I certainly would have tackled other cards before it, even though even though it's generally considered an incredibly powerful stronghold, possibly the top one. And because strongholds are always there, you can definitely claim that they've got a lot more impact. But I didn't really feel it was as impactful as some of the other cards that we're just about to talk about. But the change from itself looks like a good change. It gives Scorpion the option of hammering back that dishonor, or alternatively dishonoring themselves and then creeping back a little bit of honor themselves to kind of open up a few more of those dishonorable cards. So functionally, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference for their playstyle if they go for it. It does narrow the gap in theory between it and Kyuden Bayushi, which I already think is an incredibly strong stronghold anyway. Yeah, I mean, I certainly have no problems with it. And I do think, despite some dismay in the Scorpion clan, I do still think that the Scorpion are in a very strong position. We've seen them for like 6 months now as one of the few clans that are able to build are able to have top finishers have distinctly different decks from each other across the board. So anytime you look at a top Scorpion player, they don't have a cookie cutter deck. They always have their own flair on it, their own twist. They have enough powerful cards within clan and enough options that they can tailor um, options to suit the metagame, and that kind of flair goes from player to player and deck to deck. So yeah, it's a decent change. I am surprised it happened, but I've certainly no issues with it.
Yep. Any particular comments, Baz, or sorry, Justin?
No, I think it just. I think one of the big issues with the stronghold was that it actually did was it enabled Scorpion players to essentially leverage cards that cost honor in a dual fashion. So things like assassination are costed so that you can't abuse them too much. But a Scorpion player could not only pay for assassinations or multiple assassinations using their strongholds, but could also turn that judo style to their advantage by forcing their opponent down in honor. So what the change does, I think, is it removes the kind of the cumulative resource advantage that the stronghold could accumulate in that particular respect. And it places a higher burden of execution, I think, on the Scorpion.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I look at it and I think it one of the hardest matchups for any of the other Dishonor pressure clans was Scorpion. Because if they were
Yeah.
playing City of the Open Hand, they're just like, yeah, I'll just take an honor back. Lol. I'm on 2, now I'm on 3. That's going to happen every turn. And you're going to find it very difficult to break me down. And they were tremendous passive dishonor resistance, despite being a clan that often likes to skate close to the wind in terms of being low honor. So yeah, very strong. I think it's a good change.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I mean, in certain situations, this actually makes the stronghold better.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you want to engineer those situations, you have to engineer them. It's not like you can sit back and just, as I said, the resource disparity that the stronghold could generate was absolutely enormous over the course of the game. And one of the things certainly that we'll see with the errata is that the kind of the resource disparities or pseudo disparity or meta disparity is something that was addressed in all three of the erratas that were provided, or that all three of the erratas that were issued. So
yeah. Speaking of which, let's talk about restoration of balance. Often the nightmare province to run into, and one of the half of the reason behind which Dragon started out very strong with Seeker of Fire. This province is still 3 province strength, but its action is now an interrupt when this province is broken instead of revealed. Your opponent discards cards in their hand until that player has 4 or fewer cards in hand. So it's gone from being, oh crap, I see this, immediately I have to toss away potentially half my hand, potentially more than that. And instead, I'm like, okay, well, now at least I know that's going to happen at the end of the battle. I can either get out of the battle or I can decide, right, I'm going to try and get rid of some of these cards. I'm going to play down some free attachments. I'm going to play this action that I was otherwise going to say because, hey, It's leaving my hand this end of the turn anyway. Let's get the hand size down a bit, so I'm losing less opportunities. Justin, any thoughts?
I love this change. It was a deeply unfair card that decided things on its own. When it turned up, was based on luck. There was no skill involved in this card whatsoever.
Baz, any thoughts there in Resto?
Well, I don't quite know what Justin said, but I'm reasonably sure he was completely wrong in every possible way. Yeah, I mean it's a fine change. To be honest, for Dragon, it's probably going to open up that province that was locked into some other options. Like we saw that new Forge province, which is pretty cool. Being able to fetch a attachment is something that's very in keeping with Dragon. That said, that province has been there a long while. So I guess they've only looked at it now because they've made a decision to make an actual errata, a balancing errata, rather than, I think you call them a functional errata.
Yeah.
For the ones. So is this a functional errata, or is because you're changing the function of it? Yeah.
No, functional errata is when you make a card work the way it's meant to work.
Oh,
For
okay.
example, Pit Trap used to fall off because you couldn't attach it to. It used to just automatically fall off. So that card needed to be functionally errated, so it actually worked the way it's meant to work. This is a balance errata where they're changing a card to make it less powerful.
Yeah, so obviously it's a card that they've been having a look at and they've wanted to do something about for a while, but until they made the decision to make it a balance errata. One thing I will say is that against certain clans you have to play in certain ways. And with Dragon, the theory, I guess, was that you bid low against Dragon because Restoration of Balance is out there. Like there are other clans where you have issues like that, like with Crab. You always have to be aware of the Crab. At the moment with Phoenix, you have to be aware of the 5 fires, stuff like that. So there are certain ways to play against different clans that kind of you have to factor in. I figure that because the bid 5 meta has basically become the one true way to play this game, the way Restoration of Balance was set up is no longer compatible with that. Yeah, so there were ways to play around it, but I'm not particularly upset to see it gone. It just opens up another slot in my deck as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are very happy that it's gone. I think it was one of the cards that just led to a lot of, I drew 5 cards, I hit Resto, he was ahead in cards the rest of the game. I'm glad to see it gone because I think it generated a lot of salt without a lot of necessarily. Yeah, it's just better off gone in some ways. All right.
That's fair.
Next up, Isawa Tadaka. Isawa Tadaka remains same stat line, but now when the ring is contested or in your claimed ring pool, each opponent cannot play copies of event cards that are in their conflict discard pile. So rather than your opponent having to have their ring claimed, you've got to have a claim to get his very potent effect. Baz, any thoughts?
Well, you can still play Tadaka, so I don't think they went far enough. The big issue, or the big thing with this is it opens up the pre-conflict window in the conflict phase, which is massive. Like there are cards you can play, things that you can use to actually try to deal with Tadaka. Obviously, if the Phoenix player is first player, they attack Earth, and then from there on out, you're shut out. So Tadaka is still extremely potent. Flip side of that is on the other turn, the opposing player has a choice to either try claim if they think they can overwhelm Tadaka, try claim Earth and then have it open for the rest of it, or to just go for another conflict ring, a different element where Tadaka is not going to be active. So I think overall it's a relatively clever adjustment because it's toned down Tadaka a certain extent without making him unplayable. I still think, despite Tadaka being restricted, he is going to be the choice that the Phoenix players take, and he's still going to make a mess of some people's games, but it's not going to be the overwhelming blowout that it was. I'm a little disappointed that they weren't able to find a different wording that didn't affect Secluded Shrine. So obviously the reason Secluded Shrine is after making the restricted list is purely because of the changes that they made to Tadaka. So yeah, that was a little disappointing, but I guess they've done a decent job. Yeah.
A rebuttal from the Phoenix?
No, none whatsoever. Sorry, yeah, my connection is absolutely all over the shop as usual. I was just saying, sorry, just going back to Restoration, fully support it. It was a luck-based card that had grotesque blowout potential, and it's a good thing it's out of the game. With regard to Tadaka, yes, it's an interesting errata. It puts a burden of execution on the Phoenix player, which is good. It gives the player who's facing Tadaka, assuming they're going first, it gives them at least one unmolested conflict where they can get another ring without necessarily having to, I don't know, do it magic because Tadaka shut their but he's still incredibly powerful, still fully deserving of being on the restricted list. But he's not the game destroyer that he was. I think they could have honestly gone farther with what they did, but we'll see how it plays out for the time being.
Yeah. I think again he was another card that just made people miserable. That they would get very frustrated playing against him rather than being, because there was no counterplay to him. It was just like, yeah, well, I guess I gotta try and grab Earth. But I can't. I've no cards to win Earth with. So now,
And even if I do, the Phoenix player will just display a power and laugh
yes,
my face.
yes,
So.
yes, he will. Ho ho
and
ho.
That still will. So
yeah.
Okay.
So those.
What's really changed?
But just don't contest. Don't contest Earth. Contest something else.
Yeah, fight something else. So those are the 3 errata, but there were several additions to the restricted list. I don't believe anything came off it. But for example, Steward of Law went on, who is in the discussion for one of the most efficient conflict characters. He's got a great stat line and an incredibly useful effect that opened up cards like For Shame and basically could have a tremendous effect in a conflict. I think mainly because the upcoming Duel to the Death is so powerful with them. They decide to put a little bit of break on it and go, okay, well, if you want Duel to the Death, you're restricted as a really, really, really reliable kill action. Steward of Law has got to be a restricted card. Something else. So that's the choice you got to make. I think that's the rationale behind it. Would you guys agree?
Yeah.
I mean, they've basically said that's the reason.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that we're seeing a card being introduced that they then feel before that card has come out that another card has to go on a restricted list purely because of it.
It's interesting.
Well, yeah, the Steward of Law works in so many different ways and does so many different things. Like, it is one of the favored splashes if you're taking Crane. Doubly so because as a courtier, it's actually activating your For Shame in addition to powering it up. So I mean, it's an absolutely fantastic card, and a 1/1 for 1 are those wonderful numbers. So it does a lot of work.
It's a global effect, and the thing is that it's a card that impacts the design of future cards that want to have dishonoring as a semi-cost. So you can't design more cards like Thingy Bob, like For Shame or Duel to the Death, because at a certain point you hit a situation where you've got so many of those cards that a single Steward of Law can completely can turn your hand from pretty decent into utterly monstrous. So it's a card that impacts kind of the costing and the use of your hand massively. It just does. It potentially does so much for its cost that it needs to be.
I know in my Berserker deck, when Duel to the Death was coming out, I was strongly considering playing 3 Steward of Law, 3 Duelist Training, and 2 Duel to the Death. And then basically maybe play fit and squeeze enough courtiers in to be able to play For Shame as well. And that was looking an incredibly strong support suite to have, and just to be able to bully people down with it.
And the reality is, you still can. because
You can.
it's just restricted. Yeah, you have to make a choice.
We have to make a choice. I can't have charge and Steward of Law now. I've got to make a choice. And I mean, I see Shatriv in the chat saying that like guest and policy debate are both better. I think guest is better in a lot of decks, but not all decks. And I think Crane have some new decks coming now, where they might be like, maybe I'm not going to play. Not going to play guest. Maybe I have other ways to deny people cards, or I want to win. I'm going to be strong military, So I'm okay with this change. I think it's probably a smart pick going forward. And I know some people have been talking during the week about they're gonna start restrict listing some more crab save cards, so that save engine can't be ported into any deck. They've shown if there's a problem upcoming, it hasn't even happened yet, they'll go back and they'll restrict some cards before it. There's going to be another restricted list in July. Maybe there's some crab cards coming up, and they can just chop a few off then at that point. So I mean, we're pretty secure so long as they keep updating the restricted list quickly, we're pretty secure. Next one.
So, how do we feel like they're doing with the restricted list?
It's a mixed bag. It does some of what they want. What they initially did with the restricted list, I think, was they tried to hammer all of the good decks. And when they did that, nothing changed. Because everybody got knocked down one space, but the order stayed the same, and Scorpion still did best. And then they hit the Scorpion deck again, and they got rid of that Scorpion deck, but there was another 2 Scorpion decks kind of coming up after that. So I think they've gotten to a place now where they're knocking down what they want to knock down, hopefully. But we'll see.
Is the restricted list essentially just a ban list at this stage? Like if you look at that Steward of Law versus Guest of Honor choice, a lot of the time I think Crane are going to go for Guest of Honor. Now, obviously, you can certainly argue the choice, but if Guest of Honor is the superior pick, then all of those other restricted cards are out, including all the different splashes and the neutral cards.
The difference between it and a banned list is with a restricted list, if your deck, for whatever reason, like if you ban Steward of Law instead, you said, sure, you can play Guest of Honor, but Policy Debate is banned and Steward of Law is banned. There will be some decks that are like, actually, I don't want to play Guest of Honor. I want to play Policy Debate, or I want to play Steward of Law. So having those options are good. Because like if I'm looking at the Crane discard deck that's coming, I think they're going to play Policy Debate rather than Guest of Honor. Because their whole thing is, I'm going to discard all the cards in your hand. I'm not super invested in you not being able to play events. If you've got no cards in hand, it doesn't matter. So I'd say that they would look at Policy Debate instead, I think. So I think that's what's going to happen. Because I mean, if you look at that Crane discard deck with squeezing everybody's hand and everything, I think it could be a real deck. And if that deck is a real deck, it's not going to want Guest of Honor. It'll take Steward of Law instead, or it'll take Policy Debate instead.
Okay.
Go on. Sorry, I'm just going to say the only concern I'd have about the restricted list is that it becomes effectively a design tool, but a post hoc design tool. So there's not much. It's an easy tool to use, and because of that, it discourages, or it may discourage, a degree of exactitude when it comes to designing outwards.
Should they, for example, expand it out to multiple restricted lists? So the 2 things people have mentioned are either a restricted list per clan or a restricted list in a pool. So like you can put your charging for greater glory in one pool, you can put your Guest of Honor and Policy Debate in another pool, and have small different sections depending on what card interaction you don't want together.
I think you could do a multiple clan one. They should probably do one at some point, but it's hard enough to get people to remember what's on the restricted list. Not to just go, okay, that's on the Crab restricted list, not the Crane restricted list. But both of them are on the Phoenix restricted list. Now, nothing's on the Unicorn restricted list. And hold on, let me start over. So I'd be, yeah, you could do that.
Yeah, you got to keep it simple enough.
But at that point, you're massively changing the environment all the time. and you're going to just start annoying people that this card is restricted or that card is restricted. Like people buy a pack and be like, "What's playable out of this?" Well, that is with these guys, and I don't know. It's just you don't need more barriers to entry to playing the game. One restricted list for the moment. I agree that a clan one would be a better tool, but it's another little stripe of complexity on it. Like Rumor Monger, the point is raised. Rumor Monger was effectively banned. It is, but I think that's because they didn't want to answer rules questions on Rumor Monger. So on the restricted list he goes. You know. All right. Embrace the Void very quickly. This one was put on because its interaction with consumed by 5 fires was too strong, making it consumed by 1 fire in cost or consumed by 2 fires in cost. So this basically became somebody a 3 fate guy. You threw Embrace the Void on them. You consume them, and effectively you're only paying 2 fate for your consumed, which was too strong. So yeah, that's that is pretty much it for that. Anyone comments on that beyond? That's the reason.
That's been a card combo that's been in the environment for quite a while now. Obviously, it's only really become popular in the last season, I kind of guess. Possibly to, well, I don't even know why. Maybe it's just the way the things have cycled, and
It's
like you need
been
to
it's
set.
the way people are playing. That a lot of people are going for the 1 tower guy who hangs around for ages, and Consume became a very attractive kind of point and click solution to that problem. Like if you got some horrible character with 5 attachments and 3 fate on them, the ability to just go, you know what, this is worth 2 fate to play a 2 card combo. To go, I'll strip all the fate off that guy, and hey, you got those other guys as well. Let's do one of them as well, or two of them as well. You know, and that became it.
Is
I think.
is the issue with Gina then? Because like even that's not too bad. You lose all your fate, you can still drop a reprieve, or maybe you go wild with a good omen or something like that. But I think maybe is it Ugina being able to just pop that guy straight away afterwards?
Well, it's absolutely a factor. Like if you got a big giant tower and a Gina, that sucks. Like, oh, I don't want to get that removed from the game. You
Well,
know?
I mean, I think the choice is either you hit Embrace or you hit Five. And I guess they looked at it and decided that the functionality of Embrace was a bit more problematic. And Embrace is a super efficient card, especially if you're in the kind of environment which we were, where people were going frequently with just like I'll buy one tiny dude on turn one, and now I'm going to buy one massive character with vast amounts of fate on turn two. And you can just go, well, I'll put Embrace on that, and that single card could net you 3 or 4 fate over the course of the game, which is, the efficiency of that is really just maybe a bit too much. So yeah, I think it'll be a twofold reason is that the combo is terrible, or the combo is terribly powerful, and just the overall efficiency of Ace is maybe something they wanted to shy away from. So
But again, I mean, this is a combo that is still in the environment. Putting in a restricted list doesn't remove it. People can choose not to run Tadaka and instead continue running Embrace and 5 fires.
So for a random L5R
but they
thing,
can't run both.
Yeah.
I mean,
Embrace.
sorry. I mean, the thing is that again, if you go back, we were talking a few episodes ago about at a certain point in a game, especially the way that Five Rings has been designed, you reach a situation where you have bombs and you have counters, and what this does is this simply just it takes one of the potential bomb plays out of the Phoenix deck. I mean, it still has access to other ones, but now if you want but now like if you're playing a Phoenix deck, you have to make a decision on what kind of bomb you want to play. You want to play the Tadaka bomb, play the Embrace by 5 bomb, and so that just reduces the stress on other decks who just have fewer things that they have to focus on in order to beat you. Like the real problems come when you have a deck that can just blow you out in about 3 or 4 different ways. And I mean, you can play really well, you can draw really well, but at a certain point in the game, you are probably going to be vulnerable. And when that happens, if they have one of their many bombs, they can just end the game. So I think what design are trying to do is just to lower the instances of those really destructive play, so that you actually get to respond and react within the game and try and play your way around and or outcomes.
One of the things I was going to say was Embrace the Void actually reminded me of an old Vitesse card called Blood Doll, where it was a trickle of resources back after investing in an expensive character. So it basically used to take blood back after you had to put blood in your vampires to bring them to play, and this led you to take some of the blood back. They didn't need all that blood. You could have some of that blood back. So I always like that aspect of the card. All right, lastly, for our restricted list inclusions, we have Secluded Shrine, which you've already mentioned, which is pretty much just on because it works with Tadaka, and they couldn't involve wording which, didn't buff Tadaka, I guess. So yeah, Secluded Shrine. Any comments on that one?
No,
It's there because Tadaka, yeah?
it's on because of Tadaka.
It's kind of funny as well because people were playing it as anti-Tadaka meta. And Tadaka has taken his nemesis out.
Yeah, irony. It's a harsh mistress.
It is true. It is true. We also got new roles announced. Crab are now Seeker of Void. Crane are Seeker of Void. Phoenix are Seeker of Void. Dragon Keeper of Water. Unicorn Keeper of Water. Lion Seeker of Air. And Scorpion's Keeper of Air. And I think that means that only Crab don't have an air role of some sort.
A few don't. Dragon don't.
Yeah. But yeah, I like 5 clans have an air role. Crazy. Just that damn good.
These decisions do, for me at least, raise some questions about how this role system is working. When we were changing them, once or twice a year, and it was only the winners doing it, there was definitely pageantry to it. Each clan got locked into one. Arguably, there was some balance issues with that because the top clan got to pick the top role, and then the worst clan got the leftovers. Good luck, winning any games after that with your crappy role and your crappy deck. But now what we're seeing, to me at least, is we are seeing players essentially pick the roles that are going to be best for their decks. So what we were talking about before on with the restricted list, where I was going, why aren't they just banning these cards? Your point was good that there are decks that will play some of the kind of weaker cards, even if they're less efficient. We're getting into a situation where the most efficient role is being picked, at least as known at the time people are making decisions. And because we're still locked into roles, all of those other less efficient roles that would only be played by people that are playing kind of weaker, more interesting fun decks don't get to be played, don't get to be picked. So yeah, I'm definitely and I've been a proponent of the role system. I've liked the way it kind of locks you in, gives you a little bit more creativity. When people have said exactly what I've just said, I've raised the point over why we have clans or rules at all. Well, yeah, right now I'm kind of wondering if maybe the opening up that they've done for the role system has undermined it a little bit. What are your thoughts?
I think the rich got richer under under the draft. Certainly, the rich get richer, and it's like, oh, we won again. Cool. We'll pick the best, the next best role for us, even if somebody else would probably also really like it. Like if you look at that list there of those free picks, 3 clans pick Seeker of Void because they were like, we really want Seeker of Void. And 2 clans pick Keeper of Water because they really wanted Keeper of Water. So if you went by performance order on that one, Unicorn would be like, oh, I guess we get a terrible pick again. Unless they do it first, which they can do. They can snake draft in some cases. But yeah, it's a way to freshen up the card pool regularly. I'm not the biggest fan of the clan roll locks or the limited clan availability. But I understand what they like about it. I don't agree, but I understand what they like about it. We definitely need some better cards in some of the elements. Seeker and Keeper both have good choices generally, but Earth, God love it. Like it might come in if someone's bringing up Earth Becomes Sky as a high power level Earth card, and it is, but it really hasn't had a lot up to this point. Void even is mostly there for the provinces. You don't see much Keeper of Void. and it would be nice to see a couple of nice decent power level kind of defining void cards to come in. Other than that, air is very strong at the moment because you've got some really great. There's some great Scorpion and Crane air only cards, double honor and double dishonor. So yeah, strong from that point of view. Any thoughts, Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with Baz again. We talked about this before, where basically what they've done with the elemental championships and opening up the best role to be selected by the clan at any given time does effectively completely undermine the system. At this point, there's almost no reason not to unlock the elemental roles completely and just give all the players free reign with whatever they want, because the most efficient and best roles are available. So
Yeah. No, pretty much. Pretty much.
yeah.
Alrighty. So, are we going to go to the controversy section of the brandy and accusations section of the evening?
Sure.
We should probably squeeze in some
Controversy.
Okay. So the UK Grand Kodai is coming up at the end of May, and unfortunately, due to some issues, the Crane Clan Pack will not be legal. And news on that broke yesterday, where we were informed that they were sorry, but well, they said they were sorry eventually. That the Crane Pack had been delayed. It was not as of yet in the UK. It was available in other parts of Europe, but it wasn't available in the UK. And because of that, it wasn't going to be available within 11 days before the event. It was not going to be legal for the event. So the Crane Pack is not legal. Apparently, some problems with it is shipped directly from China to the UK, and that shipment was delayed. So that is the story as we have it there.
And apparently, some other EU countries have got their English versions already.
Yeah.
So that one's a bit weird. I mean, the good news on this is that they've told us, so players know ahead of time and actually understand the environment. The bad news is, oh god, they've kicked me really, really hard as many players are rolling around on the ground going, why, oh, why, oh, why. And this shouldn't be happening. Like, this is definitely an own goal. Someone did point out to me just this week that L5R is one of the gains that FFG really should want to succeed. They do want to succeed. It is their own property. Everything is theirs. You know, they're not tied to anything else. There's absolutely no reason that they shouldn't want this to be a fantastic game and everything working out perfectly. But unfortunately, the the distribution problems to the UK have been ongoing for months now. I think it started off with the first one I recall being delayed was Emerald Empire, and I think pretty much everything for us has been delayed since then. And I think some of the other products have been delayed as well, haven't they?
Yeah, X-Wings had some delays.
X-Wings had some delays. The Arkham Horror packs have been delayed. The Games Workshop have had some problems. One of their new army books for the Sylvanas guys were delayed. So they did a very funny apology video where they basically had a guy in a planting shed going, "Well, sorry guys, we let these grow and we don't harvest them before their time." Another guy could be like, "What are you doing? Just tell them it's late. It's late. Sorry, it's late." So yeah, yeah, it sucks. It super sucks for Crane players. It's actually probably okay for everybody else because it just makes it just opened up Crane massively. I mean, Lion were probably a little annoyed because they were looking forward to playing that 4 mil guy. Apparently, everyone else is kind of like, this isn't like the thing is. There's one more week that a release sheet can come in on. Now, given that they've said it's not going to be there, I'm pretty confident the Crane pack isn't on it. Could other stuff be on it? Maybe. But yeah, like the Crane pack is looking like it's not legal, and that sucks for Crane players, and it super sucks for people who had booked their flights, booked their accommodation,
Yeah,
and were looking forward to playing Crane, and now they have. I know a lot of people are going, well, I'm not going to play Crane with this because I was looking forward to playing this new deck. I can't play this new deck. I'm annoyed. I'm going to play something else instead. So yeah, it's a
yeah,
shame because it means that this format is going to be a little weird in that it's going to have the restricted list, but it's not going to have Crane. So it's going to be a little bit
yeah.
of a format in a bubble.
And the restricted list impact for Crane is in anticipation of the first pack of the next cycle. That's when the new
No,
tool comes
it's
out.
Justice for Satsume might be the second or third. I think it's the third. It's in.
So, I mean, the restricted list is coming in early to address a card down the line that they
Yes,
weren't going to be able to play, but they're not even getting the benefit of having that Crane clan pack. That would have been a definite boost for them.
that is all
Uh,
true, Baz. That is all true.
yeah, that really hurts.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not sure what they could have done
Well,
differently.
we know no one in organized play who are the guys who are actually taking the brunt of this.
Yeah,
None of those guys had any control over this whatsoever. In fact, from what we can tell from the comments back and forth, they didn't even know what was happening.
yeah.
It looks like they had to kind of hunt around and ask some people to find out why these things were going down. It's obviously a distribution thing. Distribution issues occur within Asmodee overall, within the FFG company, somewhere that we never get to talk to or see or hear about.
And they're
Yeah,
probably quite happy about that.
yeah,
Yeah, let these
yeah,
OP
understandably.
guys take the heat, you know?
But yeah, it's definitely showing for things, especially because we're going to have a tournament, the biggest, what would have been one of the real big tournaments in Europe, but the biggest tournament in the UK is going to be the same weekend as one of the tournaments in the US, but is essentially going to be a dead meta. So very disappointing. Obviously, we'll be over there helping out with the event, so we definitely want it to be a good time, and we'll do whatever we can to make sure people enjoy themselves. But it is pretty disappointing.
Oh, we get through the announcements telling people your thing is not legal. Your thing is not legal, and you'll have one outraged person coming up to complain because they hadn't heard. It will definitely happen. 100%. It'll be so much fun.
I look forward to it.
Yeah, pretty. Yeah, it's just it sucks. It is suck. Um, yeah, I mean, I would. People have been asking me about it, contacting me, asking what's legal, what's not legal, and I was having to go. I don't know. We have asked. We have asked, and we eventually got an answer yesterday. So yeah, that is just scoop on that one. So yeah, yeah, it's a pattern of distribution issues as well. There's definitely times when stuff is way delayed, and there are also times when, yeah, it's everything's fine. It comes out a week after in America, so it's very unpredictable. And that's the difficult thing. If everyone knew it's 2 weeks after the US release, we get our stuff, definitely everyone will be fine with that. But because it varies, it's
Yeah.
kind of like D4 minus 1 weeks. Yeah, everyone's just frustrated. Other stuff of note, we actually played some L5R on the last few weekends, Baz.
Yes, we did.
We did. I was messing around with my Berserker deck, which is it's interesting. It's devastating at times and kind of randomish at times. I mean, I think
On at least two occasions, you've made that unicorn and then charged in Yakumo,
yep.
taking two of my provinces turn one.
Yes, I've done that. I've done that. Yes.
Not a good time.
No, it's not. But I thought that John's deck that he was working on, the Scorpion Dishonor one on Acute and Bushi, was brutal to play against.
Yeah,
It's just horrible. It's like, really? Ooh, ooh, I'm so sad. Ooh. You just keep reusing that guy, huh? He's just going to keep showing up to conflicts. That jerk. Frustrating. Frustrating, dude. And you were working on your Keeper Water Crab, or Keeper Water Dragon with Crab Slash, which is also
uh,
looking pretty nifty.
yeah. It's fun. I mean, it's a relatively standard deck, but you've obviously got your Fight Ons is the big addition.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like Dragon doesn't really feel like it's had too much. Obviously, people have been experimenting with the Dishonored dueling deck, which is a lot of fun. But at least in my experience, once your opponent kind of has an idea what's going on and understands what they need to target and has the ability to do so, they can kind of pull apart the pieces in the combo relatively quick. That said, I have yet to try it with Fight On, and Fight On being able to pull in someone who can basically be everywhere all the time, ready for dueling, especially if you're looking at watch commanders in the deck as well. That could be pretty scary. So that might be something to try down the line.
I think the Fight On deck, Fight On adds a huge amount to the Dragon Tower deck, and it makes some guys who are pretty dangerous incredibly dangerous. Raigetsu, because of Fight On, becomes he does become a nightmare to deal with. It's like, wow, this is just pain. Just like, I can't get away from this guy. He's just going to keep showing up, and that's not nothing.
After the last game I played against you, where my Raitsugu couldn't do anything against your Yakumo,
yeah,
because Yakumo had spread the darkness.
Yeah.
So I've decided to add 2 of those into my deck because making your one tower untargetable while you're still able to wreck your opponent is pretty amazing.
It is. I think spreading the darkness is. I think it's under the radar.
The big realization for me in that game against you, and actually I don't think we realized it until John pointed it out, was after you'd played Spreading the Darkness and we kind of got into it, I could no longer play Defend Your Honor because I couldn't actually legally target anyone, or you couldn't choose him as a target for Defend Your Honor. That was horrible. I had 2 in hand and I couldn't use it after that.
Yeah. It's interesting, certainly. It's an interesting set of little interactions there, and yeah, I think I like it a lot as a card. It's really expensive in terms of honor, but I'm okay with that because you can skate on some honor if you're careful. You can skate on some. Just don't throw it away drawing cards all the time. So yeah. Alrighty. Anything else urgent we want to talk about on this 50th anniversary?
I want to talk a little bit about the Greek Kotai.
Absolutely.
Because we had Crab winning again. And that's raised a little bit of discussion about whether Crab are busted as hell and need to be brought down a few pegs.
Have you seen the favor and glory counts?
I have.
Crab are like 4th or 5th in each one.
But they have won recent tournaments.
It doesn't count how many Kodais you win. What matters is how many of those points you get. And 1 or 2 Crab players are doing super well and getting through into cuts. But that's not how you accumulate those points. You accumulate those points by having lots of players out there doing well, winning all the time. That's how you do it. Like, having 1 guy go through and like win the event. It's lovely. It looks awesome. But it's like making the cut versus not. Like, it's like, 15 Scorpion made the top 16. Then they all managed to lose, That doesn't like, I guess Phoenix is busted. It means that, like, those Scorpion decks didn't beat Phoenix.
So hold on. Are you saying there's some sort of conspiracy between the Phoenix and Scorpion to throw their games to make the Crab look good?
If they're making us look good, but not actually having us win. So maybe, I don't know. Like, who wins the tournament is overrated. You've got to look at who makes the cut. And you got to look at percentages in the cut. That's, yeah. Like, Crab got -1 favor point in Greece. We won the event. We got -1 favor point.
Okay. So I did see the comment from Panos saying that so he was the winner. He was saying that winning the Kodai is more about luck of a bracket than it is about strength of the clan. That they only got 1 Crab in the top 8, and basically he dodged Phoenix all of the way. So yeah, okay, I can see that.
Like, I get the argument about everyone's been hit a bit by the new restricted list, which wasn't in effect yet, and Crab haven't really. But Crab are still playing the same deck, so I think it's just people are playing Crab have gotten used to playing that deck and gotten good at playing that deck. I don't know if it's... And the thing is, the Crane cards are coming online, not for, like, UK, but For other ones, those cards are coming online. The format's going to change, and I'm not sure if the same complaints are going to be valid in a couple of weeks when we've had a bit of time to actually play with these the new cards. I think it's going to look very different.
Okay. Okay. Did you have a chance to look through the deck itself? Was there
His
anything
deck,
that
yeah,
stuck
I
out
looked
for
at.
you?
It's what everybody's sort of playing and have decided is the only way to play Crab. I think it's a very efficient way to play Crab. I think it's very good at winning a game if you can drag it out a little bit. It's very good at kind of pressuring Dishonor. It's gotten better in the Scorpion matchup. It's a very solid deck. But I worry about that one-dimensional aspect of Crab at the moment, that we're all playing the same deck. And I'm messing around with the Berserkers. There's a couple other people messing around with the Broker, who I could never get to work.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep trying it out because I want to develop something different, so we have some different options if the ban hammer does fall on us and everything gets restricted. I want some, I want some different tools in the box, because at the moment that deck's been developed well and every other deck has not. And partly that's card pool, because the available stuff we've gotten out of the first set and the first cycle is kind of like Yakimo's probably the best card we got. The second best card we got was Ivory Kingdom's Unicorn. And
And
then Fight On, and then Wicked Tetsubo. And nobody plays Wicked Tetsubo apart from
yeah,
me.
it's a
So yeah,
terrifying card.
it
Hopefully they
is,
never let us
but
there.
nobody
And
plays it.
Yakimo's an interesting, because Yakimo, I know he was in the winning deck. There were 2 copies of it, but he
Yep.
kind of plays against that standard style. Because a lot of the time you're bidding 1, you're trying to lock down, you're trying to inflict dishonor on your opponent rather than keep yourself low. So I don't think Yakimo sees play in many of the other versions of these decks, despite being a fantastic character. Am I right or am I wrong?
He's sort of,
You
he
have to be
sees some
dishonorable to
play.
play him.
You have to be low honor, not necessarily dishonorable. You have to be low honor. He can be incredibly strong on turn 1. I found if you buy him turn 1 and bid 5, and if your opponent bids 5, your Crab, you're normally lower honor, except against Scorpion and Unicorn, and then you just go, right, so cool, I get 2 military conflicts out of this guy. That's pretty sweet in turn 1. And he's powerful enough from that point of view. So you can get mileage out of him, but other turns he's like, yeah, this guy doesn't do a whole lot, which is
Yeah.
an issue. And the fact that he's Berserker, we need another Berserker event, and we need another 1 or 2 good Berserkers, and then you'll really start seeing Wicked Tetsubo seeing some play, I think.
Okay. So it's a deck in progress, but
Yeah.
we haven't seen. There's nothing new on the cards yet to be released that we've seen, is there?
We have seen 1 Crab card from the upcoming cycle so far. It is an interesting 5-cost 5/4 character, which has it's got a triggerable bow effect for your opponent, that your opponent has to bow a guy who's lower cost than the guy you just sacrificed.
That's a third watch something.
Yeah, third Terror Watch or whatever. I don't know. We haven't seen any of the other Crab cards, so it's very difficult to predict what is actually going to be important.
Okay.
I'm not sure yet. All right.
Just before we move away from the Greek event, I think it's notable that the first tournament that we covered was an unofficial Athens event. The winner of that was won by Crab, and was Vasilis Kirlis. Vasilis Kirlis, yeah, who actually was the top Phoenix this time round. He was in the top 4, and the top line from that event in 2017 was Akis Shotimus, who was a top Scorpion this time round in 2019. So yeah, some recurring players there, and they predicted the meta now 2 years ago. So
Good for them. Good for them. Alrighty. So in 2 weeks' time, it's going to be the 23rd of May. So that will be the week before the week of UK Games Expo. Will we have any new news? We might have some news about what's going on, any more releases. We're hopefully going to start to see the ramp up to Gen Con, start to get an idea what's coming up. Should be
So
interesting times.
we're expecting the end of May to be the first release of the first pack,
Oh,
right?
the inheritance cycle, yeah.
Yeah. So
Which
we might be.
is
And thank God we'll be doing monthly pack reviews instead of
oh
having to do
yeah,
them weekly.
break our souls doing all of them again. Yeah, they're still doing the pre-order stuff for it. It is apparently going to go away after this cycle, hopefully.
Have we seen that confirmed, or are we just speculating?
They said that at Gamma, but they may just have been lying to the retailers. But they said that again. They said, "Oh, don't worry, we're not going to do this again."
Oh, actually, yeah, that's another topic. The season 2 kits for the elemental tournaments
Yes.
being the same as season 1. This is another own goal. Again,
Yeah.
we have no idea why it happened or what exactly happened. But this is a real kick for tournaments. So our local store is going to be running it, and we're really concerned that we're going to have a really low turnout, and that the store might actually be burned slightly by taking a big expensive kit and then running it at a massive loss. You know, are they going to do more weekly kits or seasonal kits then after that? What's their support for L4 going to be like? That's it's not a good place to be.
It is a real potential issue. I know we were kind of talking about it in terms of like what or like, are we going to be okay, or can we get this going? But yeah, we'll see. Uh, I mean, I know if I was a store and I ordered a kit that was expensive and then nobody showed up to play it, I would be pretty cheesed off.
Yeah.
So yeah, For the Empire is the first of the inheritance cycle, which should be out some point in May. We don't know exactly when, but should be out some point in May.
Okay, cool.
Alrighty.
Justin, how are you doing over there, Justin? We
Oh,
haven't lost you,
fine,
have you?
fine. No, still here.
Any
Just blinded by sunshine. My west-facing window.
Rough stuff. And
Yeah.
you will sadly not be going to Gen Con UK.
No, I won't. I have weddings. Yeah, yeah. My money is going elsewhere, but I'll be there in spirit.
And that's what truly matters. That's what truly matters. Alrighty. Yeah. So we're going to be setting up for that. We will have feedback on that. We will continue to, well, no, Baz will continue to update websites and tell people what's happening. Are there any other Kodais coming up before Gen Con UK? Is Atlantis the same weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, the next one I think is the same weekend. Let me just double check. There's this great website called Imperial Advisor that
Yeah.
actually has a full list of all the events coming up.
All the info you could possibly need.
So yeah, the next event is actually Atlanta, which is May 25th, 26th. Assuming the details haven't changed. And then it's going to be 2 Grand Kotais on the May 31st weekend, which is going to be the Birmingham UK Expo one and ETX in Seattle. Then after that, we've got Germany still left. That's in July. Gen Con in August. The Grand Kotai in Poland, I think, are the dates still unannounced for that? And then we think we have a rough idea when it is. And then Italy is the only tournament after that. So we're getting down to the end of the season.
We are. What's interesting is they have said that the Grand Championships, which are different to Grand Kodais, will have their own unique prize support, and FFG revealed it for most of their Star Wars games, but have said that Keyforge, L5R, and Keyforge Grand Championship prizes will be revealed later. And I did say Keyforge twice because they said Keyforge twice. So I guess there's going to be two types of Keyforge Grand Championships, or They had a typo. Nova has a Grand Championship for L5R. So that'll probably be the first of the Grand Championships. So we will see then.
Oh, cool. Do we know what date that is? What date Nova is?
Oh, I can check. I assume it's might be late. Is it June?
Nova Convention, August to September.
All right. So it will be roughly the
29.
same. So is that before or after the Poland is like the second last week in August, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure when Poland is, I'm afraid.
Yeah. So yeah. So Poland probably first, and then the US will get their chance with Nova, which is now a huge X-Wing event. Was always kind of a wargaming event. There's yeah, that's the way it goes. Alrighty. So I think we'll leave it there. Thank you all for hanging around Imperial Advisor for the last 50 episodes. We'll be back next week for 51. Because where else would we
Absolutely.
go? See y'all guys. Thanks for listening.
Take care, everybody.